The development and adoption of electric vehicle (EV) technology has faced numerous challenges over the decades, which have prevented it from achieving the widespread success and market penetration seen today much earlier. Here is an in-depth analysis of why EV technology initially struggled and continues to face challenges, despite recent gains. There are some battery technology limitations. Batteries historically had low energy densities, meaning they couldn't store much energy relative to their size and weight. This limited range and made early EVs heavy and slow, which deterred consumers. Battery production has always been expensive, and only recently have costs dropped to more affordable levels. The high cost of batteries made EVs more expensive than gasoline vehicles. Early started batteries had poor durability and degraded quickly, losing capacity over time. This raised concerns about replacement costs and long-term value, further deterring adoption. Charging times for EVs were long and inconvenient compared to the ease and speed of refueling a gasoline car, making EVs less practical for consumers who needed a quick turnaround. There was very little charging infrastructure to support EVs, especially for longer trips. Unlike gasoline stations, EV charging stations were not widely available, which created range anxiety for potential buyers. Government and private sector hesitation. Governments and businesses were hesitant to invest in charging networks without a critical mass of EV users, creating a classic chicken and egg problem that slowed infrastructure growth. Early on, the lack of standardization across charging stations and vehicle charging ports created compatibility issues, complicating efforts to build a cohesive infrastructure. Gasoline vehicles were well established, with extensive infrastructure, efficient manufacturing processes, and a loyal customer base. ICE technology was also rapidly improving, making it hard for EVs to compete. The oil industry, concerned about the potential decline in fuel demand, lobbied against policies supporting EVs and invested heavily in discrediting electric technology. This impacted public perception and slowed policy support for EV development. Many automakers had invested heavily in gasoline-powered vehicle development and manufacturing processes. Shifting to EVs required massive changes to factories, supply chains, and workforce skills. This inertia slowed the industry's overall transition to EVs. Also for decades, EVs were more expensive than their gasoline counterparts due to the high cost of batteries and low production scale, which made them accessible only to niche or wealthy buyers. The higher upfront cost combined with limited range, longer refueling time, and fewer vehicle choices made EVs seem like a poor value for the average consumer, especially when gasoline prices were low. Early EVs often lagged behind gasoline vehicles in terms of speed, power, and general performance. The electric motors and battery technology available could not provide the driving experience that ICE vehicles did. Limited battery capacity meant that EVs often had a range of less than 100 miles, which was insufficient for many consumers. Coupled with the lack of charging stations, this made EVs impractical for long-distance travel. EV batteries are sensitive to extreme temperatures, which can impact performance and reduce range, posing a problem in areas with very hot or cold climates. In many regions, governments did not initially provide enough subsidies or incentives to offset the high cost of EVs, unlike the substantial subsidies now available in some markets. Governments were slower to enact stringent emissions regulations, allowing gasoline-powered vehicles to dominate without regulatory pressure to switch to cleaner alternatives. The environmental impact of mining and producing battery materials, such as lithium, cobalt, and nickel, led to concerns about the long-term sustainability of EVs, complicating the environmental case for their widespread adoption. Lack of consumer awareness. For much of their history, consumers knew very little about EVs and had misconceptions about their capabilities. Marketing efforts by automakers were also limited, and there was no widespread awareness of EV advantages. Range anxiety, or the fear of running out of power, was a significant barrier, as people were accustomed to the extended range and quick refueling of gasoline cars. Many consumers were skeptical of EV technology, questioning its reliability, performance, and resale value. Concerns over battery replacement costs and the long-term viability of EVs contributed to slow adoption. For most of the 20th century, there was limited investment in EV research and development, as the automobile industry was heavily focused on improving gasoline engines. Only in recent decades has substantial investment accelerated EV progress. Breakthroughs in battery technology, electric motors, and lightweight materials came relatively recently, making it challenging for earlier EVs to compete with the well-established ICE technology. Conclusion of all the debate is that while EV technology has made significant strides in recent years, addressing these challenges has required advancements in battery technology, supportive government policies, growing infrastructure, and shifting consumer attitudes. Today, with ongoing improvements and greater awareness of environmental issues, EVs have a brighter future, but they faced significant obstacles in getting to this point.